Namaste. Prakash here again on the topic, does God exist? Recently, in one of my conversations with a social activist, there was an interesting input that I got out of the conversation. The conversation was moving towards belief, faith, and things like that. So one of the commonly agreed definitions for belief is to believe in what is possible. And it is said that faith is defined as to believe in the impossible. So in this conversation, what was emerging with this friend of mine was that 70 to 80% of the time, or even more, when we face any situations in life, as a human, normally because our ego is pretty strong and the tendency to think that I am capable of solving or doing my own things normally tends to take over. We fall in the category of belief, what is possible. And hence the first response of the human normally in many situations is to attempt and complete doing the things, situations, challenges that one comes to face. Hence, very, very rarely do we have a chance to look at the concept of faith. Faith, as I said, is when to believe in the impossible. When the threshold of what is possible for us is crossed, when we tend to give up, as is documented in the case of Draupadi in Mahabharata, when the Kauravas were attempting to disrobe her. Initially, she was looking at all possible options of solving it by herself, or calling out to the Pandavas to come and help, or speaking to the acharyas in the palace or in the king's court. When things finally did not happen is when she raised her hands and then called out for help from Lord Krishna. So he was saying that the normal tendency of the human being is not to believe or to be against God. Man is so preoccupied with his own work and with his own thinking that he is capable of doing and solving his issues. Very, very rarely will you find people who take pole positions, as it's called, on a permanent basis. Rather, he was saying whether there is a higher power or there is no higher power is something that we only speak about when the threshold of what is possible within our limits is crossed. So we rather agreed on a common term called as selective belief. When things are all right, the concept of God, or does the God exist or the God doesn't exist, doesn't even arise in our mind. It's when things go beyond and things do not happen the way in which we want it to happen, we tend to disbelieve God and say that, why should I go through so much misery? Why should I go through so much suffering if there is someone called as a creator or a God? Why is he not protecting me? Likewise, when we are in dire straits and things go out of our hands and we throw up our hands and then call out for help, and the help does arrive in some way, our belief crosses the threshold of just belief and becomes faith. Then we say that there is a God and God does exist. This I found it to be a very interesting perspective with it, which I thought I will share in this episode. The curious case of the selective believer, as I would like to call. Let's continue the deliberations as we move on to the next episodes. Thank you.